Well, what's up, guys? Skap here with kind of a special message, I guess a special video, at least a video that I don't typically do too often. If you guys know me, if you know my brand, I say often that I'm not on YouTube really, that I don't go on and watch other YouTubers. I don't follow it because I don't. Quite frankly, I don't really care what anybody else has to say on the platform, particularly about me. I do my own thing. I stay in my own lane. I call it like I see it. But one thing that I am is in my own comment section. I'm there probably more often than most YouTubers because I absolutely love the hell out of all of you guys for your kind and generous support throughout my journey here on this platform. And for the good or the bad, I'm in there. I'm reading the comments. I'm trying to engage with as many subscribers or as many commenters as I possibly can. And one comment that caught my attention on a video I recently published was a subscriber of mine who was calling my attention to another YouTuber called Carson for Life, and that he was another hater that was getting at me in some way because of my Jordan and Isiah Thomas video that I published, I don't know, like a week and a half ago. Actually, I did 2 videos on it because it was so outrageous. The take that Isiah Thomas had, one of the worst lists that I've ever seen in my entire life. He had Michael Jordan at 8 all-time on his list. Of course, Isiah, who likely is drawing checks from LeBron James and Clutch Sports Media at this stage of his life, had LeBron at 1, but not just LeBron at 1. Again, Jordan at 8, and some of the players above him, maybe you can make a mild case for, but Zeke had Shaquille O'Neal at the 7 spot ahead of Michael Jordan, which is just so outrageous that it is clearly a list that was born out of pure pettiness because Isiah Thomas is still butthurt that Michael Jordan ended his playoff run, ended his hold on the Eastern Conference and the NBA, which, by the way, was a very minuscule hold, to say the least. He won 2 titles and went to the finals 3 times. So I can't even use the term dynasty really to describe what Isiah Thomas and the bad boy Pistons of the 1980s had in the 1980s. It wasn't a dynasty. He wasn't successful enough to say that he was dynastic, but whatever he had, Jordan ended that, then went on to launch the greatest dynasty in league history outside of the 1960s Boston Celtics. And then because of the feud between Michael Jordan and Isiah Thomas, many speculate that it cost him a spot on the 1992 Dream Team, something to which, again, Isiah Thomas is still very clearly butthurt. But speaking of butthurt, this Carson for Life guy had to do a 1 hour and 20-minute live stream on me. And again, there are a lot of people around the YouTube interwebs that, for whatever reason, feel the need to put my name in their mouths. A bunch of uneducated scrubs, by and large, to which I don't really feel the need to address, talk about, etc., or certainly not make videos about. But every once in a while, I see something that catches my attention, and I went on and watched at least a couple minutes of this Carson for Life's live stream, and it was absolutely breathtaking in scope, to be honest with you. It was 1 hour and 20 minutes. Again, I maybe listened to about 5 to 10 minutes because, frankly, I just don't care enough to listen to him any longer than that, to really talk intelligently about what he was saying. Did I just say talk and intelligent in the same sentence when talking about Carson for Life? Because that's certainly something he doesn't do, probably in any of his videos, but most certainly not in the live stream that I watched that he produced about me and the Michael Jordan Isiah Thomas feud. The biggest takeaway that I had when watching this video from Carson is that he has Isiah Thomas as his GOAT. Yes, this guy, Carson for Life, has Zeke as the #1 all-time player in NBA history, according to him. And the crazy thing about it is the rest of his list, he kind of gives the rest of his list. Look, I don't have all of the guys that he has in his top 10, but we do overlap a bit. At least probably 5 or 6 names are in his top 10 and my top 10. In the first 10 minutes of his live stream, he goes on this little rant about who am I to question Isiah Thomas? What lends my list the credibility or makes my list valid or more valid than Isiah Thomas? Well, right back at you, Carson for life. Like, what makes your list more virtuous than my list? In terms of me versus Isiah Thomas, or my list versus his, my list versus yours, I produced a top 10 list, which I will, link at the end of this video, because I will continue to push that top 10 video, because people had been asking me to create this list and create a video on my top 10 list for basically the very beginning of my journey on YouTube. And I'd been putting it off because, quite frankly, it's difficult to put out such a list. It is hard to rank down like 70 years of basketball excellence into just 10 finite spots and then order them as well. It's hard fundamentally to make that case. My list, where I make my list, the video in which I make my case is 30 minutes long to talk about 10 guys, because it's hard to make the case, present the justifications. But I do just that, Carson. I do it more in my 30-minute list than you do for your list in an hour and 20 minutes. And both of us provided more justification for our placements than did Isiah Thomas. Who am I to call out Isiah Thomas's list? Well, I'm a guy who wants to hear him speak about why he has Jordan at 8. Why? Justify to me why Shaquille O'Neal, Isiah Thomas, is at number 7 above Michael Jordan. There are no justifications in anything that he can say that to build a case that would have Shaq over Jordan. You could then utilize his own statement to refute the rest of his list. It is a list of contradictions. And really, that's because it's not an accurate list at all. Again, the whole premise of my 2 videos that I made that caught Carson for Life's attention is the fact that the list is a joke. It's not about Isiah Thomas thinking or feeling any certain way about where Michael Jordan ranks all time. It's just a list born of pettiness, because Isiah Thomas, hilariously, 35 years later, is still dreaming about Michael Jordan, still waking up every day thinking about what Michael Jordan did to him. But Carson for Life just went on this hour and 20-minute tirade where he pretty much destroyed any semblance of basketball knowledge that he would suggest that he had. People in this guy's own comments were calling him out. Like, his own subscribers that were in this live stream were calling him out for knowing absolutely nothing about basketball. Again, I didn't watch enough to critique why he has Isiah Thomas at the top spot, but I did hear him say something along the lines of Isiah Thomas had no weakness. Therefore, that's why he is the number 1 all-time player on his list. Okay, but Nikola Jokic has no weakness, Carson for Life. Does that mean that Nikola Jokic is number 1 all-time on your list now? Is he going to surpass Isiah Thomas? Oh, and Nikola Jokic has probably a better case at this point for the top spot than does Isiah Thomas. Since Carson for Life wanted to talk about Isiah Thomas and told me essentially in this hour and 20-minute rambling diatribe that he created that I need to learn about Isiah Thomas, well, Carson for Life, maybe it's you that needs to learn about Isiah Thomas. Since it's clear that you don't, and you're just a blind homer with your Detroit Pistons goggles on and you can't see anything beyond it, let's build the case for Isiah Thomas. Let's look at Isiah Thomas's case to be the greatest player of all time. Let's take a look at the resume snapshot if we can. Thomas at this time is 74th on the all-time scoring list. He is 90th currently in points per game. Now, look, he is a point and a true point, so let's give him his due. 10th all-time in assists in terms of total assists, and 5th in terms of assists per game. So nothing is really popping in terms of the standard box metrics or his, accumulated statistics that would suggest that he should be anywhere near the top spot all time on anybody else's list. But look, this is a nuanced conversation. So let's look at the advanced analytics of it all, shall we? And in that, Isiah Thomas is arguably even less impressive than in his standard box metrics. For PER, Isiah Thomas is currently 164th on the all-time list. That is just below Antoine Jamison, while he ranks 91st all-time in box plus minus. So again, not much popping in terms of advanced metrics either. And okay, again, nuanced conversation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What did he do in the playoffs? Well, yes, he had 2 excellent runs. That's virtually it. This guy made it out of the first round only 6 total times in his entire career. Again, 2 championships. And yes, he went through a gauntlet for those 2 titles. But if we're just looking at the strength of 1 or 2 years and 1 or 2 playoff runs in someone's career to build their all-time case, then Carson for life, I guess Dirk Nowitzki should probably be your GOAT, or at the very least, he should be in your, top 3 or 4, because Dirk's 1 title run was an absolute doozy, arguably the best single playoff run in NBA history, probably maybe second only to Akeem Olajuwon's 1995 run. I didn't see the Dream, though, in your top 10 either. So again, speaking of contradictions, like Isaiah's list is, Carson for life, so too is your list. Just a walking contradiction. Let's keep going over Isiah Thomas's resume, though. Since you clearly don't know, let me educate you, my friend. Isiah Thomas has one single top 5 MVP finish in his entire career. I didn't say 1 MVP because he has 0 MVPs for his entire career, but he has a grand total of 1 top 5 finish, and that was a 5th place finish in 1983-84. So the highest this guy ever finished was 5th place in year-end MVP voting, and it was his only top 5. He got one of the 2 finals MVPs was his. Look, I hate when I have to discredit or disparage an all-time great in some way, because I have no hate for Isiah Thomas. The guy is inarguably a top 5 all-time point guard. I think you can build a case for him to be as high as maybe the 3rd or 4th best point guard all time. In fact, Michael Jordan himself says that Isiah Thomas is probably the 2nd best point guard ever, behind only Irvin Magic Johnson. But in Jordan's words, Isiah was just an asshole. And it was because of that feud, it probably cost Zeke the 92 spot on the Dream Team. And Isiah is still butthurt about that. He's still butthurt about the Last Dance docuseries where Michael Jordan went on and called him an asshole on the Last Dance docuseries. So Isiah felt the need to put that petty list out, which then precipitated me putting out my 2 videos about Isiah Thomas. And of course, it led to this ridiculous video by Carson for life. Again, this is something that I don't typically do. I don't respond to these things very often. I see them all the time, but this is just such utterly low-hanging fruit. When a guy is trying to discredit me, come at me for not understanding something about basketball, for not knowing something about the history of the sport, and then in that same breath says that he has Isiah Thomas as his top spot on his all-time list. It's just so utterly hilarious and hypocritical.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
And yes, Carson, it's true. I was born in the 80s, so it's not like I lived through the games and experienced those games. But not everything can be built upon your eye test. Eye test can act as a reinforcement to some things or to some ideas, but there has to be other things to build the case in. And look, no one understands the nuanced kind of a conversation that it is better than I do, but I try to land as many things as I can to build these cases and state why I believe certain things. You and I, Carson, are on the same page for the most part about LeBron James. I have been saying for 20 years, or probably more, 23 years now, that Kobe Bryant is a significantly better player than LeBron James. Now, there are not a lot of advanced metrics that can state that case for me, and not many standard metrics either. But when I dig into some of the nuance of what Kobe Bryant did for his teams, the kind of winner that he was, the amount of opposition that he was going against, the kind of supporting cast that he had, the success that he had more so than LeBron James in less time, it's a case that I can make, a case that I've been building for basically 23 years. And even though I've only been on this platform for about 2.5 years, I have probably created somewhere around several hundred hours of reasons as to why I think Kobe Bryant is above LeBron James, or why I personally do not have LeBron James ranked as highly as consensus is. I've put out hundreds of hours on this, and I've used a myriad of different ways to build my case in that. You just get on an hour and 20 minute live stream and spew the idiocy of whatever the hell you were trying to talk about, and why Isiah Thomas is number one on your all-time list. So if anybody sees this video, that saw that video, or if anybody wants to get in to the mentions or the comments or whatever of Carson for Life, if you want to somehow get this video, or get the fact that Skap Attack acknowledged his video, get that messaging over to him, Carson, this is what I want to do. I want to continue the conversation with you somewhere. Let's have a debate, a conversation, whatever. We can talk about not just Michael Jordan and Isiah Thomas. Let's talk about the all-time lists, why you have the players ranked where you have them, why I have the players ranked where I have them. He also mentions in his video that he has Shaquille O'Neal ranked 95th all-time. I certainly don't have Shaq as high as consensus either. He's somewhere typically top 7 to 11 all-time on consensus. I have him outside of my top 12, but he's definitely higher than 95th on my all-time list. Carson also had Jordan, I believe, 5th on his all-time rankings. He has Oscar Robertson ranked at number 2. Again, these are just puzzling rankings. Where's Russell Westbrook on your all-time list if you have the Big O at number 2? Where is Nikola Jokic? I didn't hear any Nikola Jokic mentioned on your video either. If you have guys with no weakness and guys with a penchant for triple doubles, well, Nikola Jokic qualifies under both of those subcategories. He also, though, has, well, it should be 5 league MVPs, but he has 3, and he's likely to finish top 2 in 6 consecutive years after the end of this season. That will be top 2 in 6 straight years. Remember, Zeke only has 1 top 5 finish ever, and it was 5th place. So again, just a bunch of contradictory information that Carson for Life provided there, but not a shocker, because again, his own subscribers were calling him out in the comment section and saying that he knows absolutely nothing about basketball. But Carson for Life, let's do it. Like, your platform, my platform, whatever. Let's talk somewhere about your all-time list, your all-time rankings, and we can talk about Isiah Thomas too, and maybe some of your other Detroit teams. Obviously, you're a big-time homer. Guys, many thanks for listening to my little mini rant or tirade on this subject. Again, it's not something I will do very frequently, but this one just caught my attention more than others have in the past. And guys, please do, as you're watching this, my subscribers and guys that are in my comments all the time, or at least very frequently, as you can tell, I look at and I read these things. I want to see what you guys have to say. So if you see anything else or any other interesting tidbits that you think might catch my attention or warrant a video, please do make sure that you comment, because I am in there and I am looking. And guys, please, as always, make sure that you are subscribed to stay up to date with more from me. Until next time, guys.